So I want to share another practice with the Antares Spheres that is something that I do almost all the time. And this is something I do to use the spheres in relationship to my physical body and my physical well-being. So what I want to do is use the spheres and to use them all around my aura, but also to go from that level, the macro level, down to the micro level. So I'll invoke spheres at the macro level of my aura as a whole, and then I'll invoke them at the level of my body's organs and subsystems. Then I'll invoke them at the level of my body's cells. Then I'll invoke them at the level of my body's particles. I could say subatomic particles, but I'm leaving it more open just in case there's something excluded by that. And the point is that when we direct the use of the spheres in that way, we in fact can reach into our energy field, and transcend the macro to the micro. It makes no difference in the field of energy how we direct ourselves. There's no fundamental separation between macro and micro. Micro and macro are really interconnected with one another. So when I use the spheres in this way, what I want to do for myself is use the spheres to clear what I can and help myself at the level of myself as a whole. But for instance, when I go down to the level of the cells, to take that same focus and bring it to the level of each cell in my body and work on it. And, and to the extent that when I'm working on myself, I have to be doing this from a place of love and gratitude to my body. I also work with the cells from a place of love and gratitude to give them the message, to give them the message of positive support. So that's what I'd like to do. And I'll demonstrate this. And the way I'm going to do it right now for the demonstration is I'm going to focus on the different levels with an Antares sphere of balance. You can do this with all of the spheres or any of the spheres, but for demonstration purposes, I'll work on balance because the property of balance is so important to each of these sub-levels of the body and who you are. That is, at each level, there's an energy field that needs to be in balance and needs to be in good health and relationship with itself, and I'll do that for demonstration purposes. Okay, so I'm going to begin by asking for a connection to the divine light within me. So in the name of the divine light within me, in the name of the true divine light that I am, in the name of the divine light I hold within myself, I now am going to ask for an Antares sphere of oneness to be placed around everything that I am, an Antares sphere of oneness around everything that I am, an Antares sphere of oneness around everything that I am. And this sets the stage and holds the space around me for the work I'm about to begin. So I ask now for an Antares sphere of balance all around and through my entire auric field. I ask for an Antares sphere of balance around and through my auric field. I ask for an Antares sphere of balance around and through my whole auric field. And when I do this, I visualize my auric field, and I visualize the energy circulating around the field, but also passing through the tube of light in the middle, the tube of light that goes along the spine. So a lot of times when I do this, I feel a sensation at the very top of my aura and the very bottom of my aura as the spinning of the energy comes into a better focus. And maybe you feel something like that too. Something happens to the whole of you. I feel that tube of light from above my head, down through my entire body. It comes into a better positioning with itself, a better harmony with itself. And so now I want to ask for an Antares sphere of balance to be placed around all of my organs and all of my body subsystems. I ask for an Antares sphere of balance around each of my organs and each of my body subsystems. I ask for an Antares sphere of balance around each of my organs and each of my body subsystems. And when I do that, I usually have one or more of my organs that sort of appear in a vision in front of me, and I see the same kind of field around them as I have around my entire aura. That there's an egg-shaped field or a spherical-shaped field, and it's spinning in both directions simultaneously, clockwise and counterclockwise. And then there's a tube going right through the center of it. And so I'm letting that happen for each one of my organs and each one of my body subsystems. And what I can feel is that there's a difference between my aura as a whole and the organs. The organs need a lot more work for me than my aura as a whole does. So I can feel them, coming up to a level of greater strength and health because the energy field around them is improving. So now I'm going to ask for an Antares sphere of balance to be placed around each cell in my body. I ask for an Antares sphere of balance to be placed around each cell in my body. I ask for an Antares sphere of balance to be placed around each and every cell in my body. And I usually have an image of a cell, one cell in front of me, one representative cell, and I see the same kind of field around it. It has like its own auric field and has its own tube of light, and the spinning of the energy counterclockwise and clockwise needs to come into the best possible balance. And I feel that the cell then is taking in energy and becoming stronger and healthier. And I try to use my feelings to feel this moving all through my body so that the cells everywhere are being affected. Of course, I'm sitting here doing this for all my cells. There are millions of cells. And it doesn't matter that there's millions of cells. I can't see them all at once. But I have the intention that they're all affected. And so like a great cloud of energy, all of the cells are affected by this, by the intention. I've asked that every cell have an Antares sphere of balance around it, and it happens. Okay, so now I'm going to ask that an Antares sphere of balance be placed around each and every particle of my body. Each and every particle. Each and every particle. Every molecule. Every atom. Every subatomic particle. around all such things. And that's a hard thing to maybe understand in a rational sort of way. But, I can feel the impact of it. I need to be responsible for my body at its micro level as well as the macro level. So I have gone through now my aura and my body, and we say the auric fields of all the parts of the body, with an Antares sphere of balance. And I feel like greater health and strength and vitality comes to me because I do that. And I think it's also important that we don't forget the microstructure of who and what we are, because that's such an important part of us. Whatever we think or imagine at the macro level, whatever we think about ourselves, that gets transmitted to our organs and transmitted to our cells and even transmitted to the molecules and particles of what makes us up. So by giving this work to every part of ourselves, we're creating health in the whole and stability and the whole, and increasing our spiritual power altogether. Okay, I hope this is useful to you. Love and light.